Hey, good afternoon. So let's talk about that synergy proposal. A lot of you have already started and done some great work, and some of you still don't know what to do about this synergy proposal. And I get that. It's a big deal, something you've probably never done in school before, but I believe in you and I think you got this. So let's start by talking about the proposal. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go through this real quick, and we're just going to talk about how to make it work for you. So we start with the proposal name. This will be your team name or your idea for synergy or whatever you want to put right up here. So that could be any number of things, and you just need to give it a name so that it's clear what it is that you're doing. Put today's date on there, put your team members, and then there's a spot for another date. You don't need that. That's crazy. So we're just going to delete that right now. You don't need that at all. The next thing is the proposal of work. This basically says I'm, as a student, committing to Tanana Middle School that I'm going to use my educational time effectively to do it. And we, as Tanana Middle School, are going to promise to support you in using your time effectively to do your project. Now, we know that you're going to learn a ton from doing whatever proposal you do, whatever synergy project you do. You're going to learn a ton from it, and it's going to impact math, science, reading, language arts, and probably some other things that we haven't even thought of yet. It's also going to impact your social and emotional learning, and so we're going to support you in doing that, and we want you to commit to doing your best work and creating something of value. The summary is a little bit different. The summary here goes into a little more detail about what everything is going to look like. So I want you to take some time, 3 to 4 sentences, a short paragraph explaining what it is. Now, this part right here is really important about the summary. I want you to think, who is this thing that you're creating for? What are you creating that matters? How can you make something better? That's the key idea that we're going for here. How can you improve the world through what you're doing? Now, if you can add that here into the summary, it's going to help you a lot, especially as you start thinking about the challenges and struggles you're going to face. This is going to be a good place to overcome some of those challenges because you're going to have a vision that matters. You're going to have an idea that means something to you so that when tough stuff gets hard, you're going to be able to be successful and continue working at it. And I promise this is going to get hard. And that's exciting because you can do hard things. The next section is team members and roles. And what I want you to do here is list each of the team members that you have and then list their role and their strengths. What are the strengths that each person on your team has? You all have them. And how are they going to be used in this process? So you list everybody's names and strengths and make sure you use first and last names so that it's easy for everybody to know who you're talking about. All right, project deliverables. Now, this part is where middle school students have such a hard time thinking about. What is it that you're actually going to create that is going to be meaningful? Now, one of the synergy project ideas that I read last week was about creating a Battle of the Books team. So if you're going to do a Battle of the Books team, you need to keep in mind that you're going to spend about 3 hours per week on this. And so you need to make sure that what you're delivering is going to be valuable. So you may say that our deliverable is going to be something like a summary of each book that will help somebody else who's reading it. Or maybe it's we're going to create a first place winning team at Battle of the Books, and that's going to be your deliverable. But that doesn't happen all the way until January or February when that competition actually takes place. So you need to think about that. How are you going to show over time that this is what we're going to do? Another one that I read is that some students want to create a t-shirt design that they're going to sell in the school store. If another team creates a school store, right? So we need people to be able to work together. Their goal is to create the first t-shirt design by the end of the first semester. Now, that's a long time, but they want to create it from scratch. They don't want to use other tools. They want to learn about how to make good designs. And so their project deliverables are going to be, show drafts by these certain days rather than just have the t-shirt done by the end of the first semester. So at the end of September, they're going to have, they're going to show a log of how they learned how to do design stuff. They're going to watch videos. They're going to take some online courses, things like that. Then by the end of October, they're going to have 3 different designs that each person creates. Then by the end of November, they're going to have 1 design that they settle on and finalize on, and they're going to say, this is the one we're going to sell. And then in December, they're going to start doing different kinds of designs that they're going to create new ones. So they're going to have a limited run of a specific design. And then once they sell that one, then that one's all gone. Now, that's a lot of stuff that you got to put into this, but that kind of thought makes it so that we know when they are supposed to be successful and how to measure whether or not they were successful. All right, the next piece in community engagement. Now, on this section, I want you to think about who you're going to pull in from the community to help you out with this. So in the example of the students who are creating a t-shirt design, they may want to have a graphic designer in our community come and talk to them about how to make good graphic design. They may want to have a t-shirt printing company come and talk to them about how to make t-shirts so they can find a better way to do it. So you don't have to know all the answers right now, and that's fine. But what you do need to do is think about how you're going to engage different members of our community and what kind of help you need and what kind of help you could provide. So, for example, if you are thinking of doing something with an animal shelter, then you need to include those community groups here. All right, here's a really good one. Things that will prevent you from being successful. This is really important because there are so many things that could prevent you. What if you just like to talk a lot? What if when things get hard, you kind of give up and say, I don't want to do it anymore? What are you afraid of? What kinds of things are going to be challenging that you can't overcome? So I want you to think through the things that are going to prevent you from being successful and have everybody give their thoughts on what's going to prevent them from being successful, because there are a lot of things that could prevent it. Finally, a final presentation. How are you going to show what you've learned and how you've grown over the course of this year? That's the final presentation. Sometime at the end of the year, we're going to have a night that we're going to have we're going to have a night where people come and see what you have done this year, and it's going to be amazing. Now, if you're going to do something, I want you to do it at your very best that you possibly can. If you do, you're going to enjoy doing it and you're going to do a great job. Now, it may not be the best ever, but I want it to be your very best. And I want you to feel how powerful that is when you are showing something off to the world. We don't know the date of when this presentation is going to be, but we're going to have it at some time towards the end of the year so that you can have an opportunity to showcase the amazing things that you've done this year. The last thing is comments. Anything else that you need someone to understand about your project, that's what we need right there. Anything else that I need to know or that your sponsor needs to know or anything like that. Finally, the signatures. This is where you finally get to choose your official sponsor, and that sponsor, whoever that adult is, needs to sign off on this proposal. You as a team need to sign off on this, and then you need the principal approval or the assistant principal approval, either myself or Ms. Marquand. Either one of us can sign off on this in the end. Before you start doing anything, you need to get our permission. Now, I want to give a couple warnings about things that I've seen already in synergy proposals that have been turned in. Number one, I'm going to stop sharing so you can just see my face. Things that will prevent you from being successful. Number one, if you are doing something over here and then saying we're going to do a bake sale to raise money to do whatever, those are two totally separate things. That is not likely going to get an approval, because I want you to focus on one thing. Don't be all over the map. Do one thing. You can do it. Choose that one thing and really commit to that one thing. If you are doing something that has to do with food or selling food, that is a tricky situation, and you need a lot of research and figuring out permits, how you can get a food handler's permit, what kind of food you can sell in schools, all that stuff. That is really important for you to think about because there are laws that restrict that. So you've got to pay attention to that. If you're doing something entrepreneurial where you want to sell something, you also have to think about how that money is going to be accounted for, because that is a really important part of running a business. And so it can't just be, oh, we'll just do this and then, we'll all split the money and enjoy it in the end. If the school is supporting it, you've got to have a plan for how to deal with that. Now, I'm not saying you can't do any of those things that I just mentioned, but I'm saying you got to think deeply about those before you commit to doing them. The other thing that I want to mention is there are a lot of students who want to do things with the animal shelters. And while that is a good thing, there are only so many animal shelters, and we've had a lot of students who have said they want to do something with them. So let's think about what you're going to do and how that's actually going to work. And remember, if you're going to be traveling outside of the school, then there are processes that we need to follow for going on what we'll call field trips. Okay. And so those are important for you to pay attention to and think about. And that's not me saying you can't do them, but you can't just say, we're going to go to the animal shelter every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, or we're going to go to LAD every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, and think that that's just going to be okay. You've got to follow more processes and know what the rules are around those kinds of things. So I'm really excited. This is going to be great. Now, open up a Google Doc, that Google Doc that I shared with this assignment. Invite your team to that Google Doc so you can all work on it together, and let's get these proposals taken care of.